Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Arjun, and last week I saw a movie called All Quiet on the Western Front. This is a movie that came out on Netflix, I believe, last week, and I saw it a few days ago. And I was really interested in watching this movie because going into it, I heard a lot of good reviews for it. A lot of people said it's one of the best movies of the year or one of the best war movies to come out in a while. So I was really interested in watching it. So before I tell you guys what I thought about All Quiet on the Western Front, let me know down in the comments, what did you think about this movie if you have seen it? If you haven't seen it yet, do you have any idea what the movie's about? Like, have you heard about the movie before? I'd love to know your thoughts. With that said, I'm going to get started talking about my thoughts on All Quiet on the Western Front. And like I said, I didn't know much about the movie other than like the reviews were really good. Didn't watch the trailer, didn't hear anything about it. So I wasn't like really interested in the movie going into it. I just watched it because I saw some good reviews. And I have to say, this is an absolutely just amazing war film. I think this is the war movie that I've seen personally that I'd say just perfectly shows what war is like, just how horrible the conditions are and how people are like brutally killed. And it's just when you're watching this movie, it really shows you like all the different things that happen during war. And I just found it really effective in that sense, because if you're like someone that's really fascinated by World War One, World War Two, or just any war in general, and you watch this movie, you're gonna find a lot of things here that just like are really gut-wrenching and like a lot of things that are represented really well. The movie is from the perspective of, I think it starts off with four people, and throughout the entire movie, like it just ramps up really well. There's a lot of tension, and I think although there's some awesome action sequences, there's some great scenes. The cinematography, I think, here is incredible. And before I would have said the Batman has the best cinematography this year, I think this might have taken the crown for that, because right now, out of every movie I've seen, the cinematography in this is absolutely amazing. The camera work, all that stuff, they just did a really great job of executing all of that. And the whole movie is in German, and it's from four Germans' perspective. And it just throughout the whole movie, when you're watching it, you see the Allies show up. The war scenes are really gut-wrenching. There's a lot of tension going into it, and you really root for these characters. Even though they're German, you really root for them just because they were put into this war thinking that they were on the right side. And I just love the way they showed the war from their perspective. And I didn't watch like the English version of it. I just watched it in German, so I just had to I had to read the subtitles while watching the movie, which was kind of annoying. But if you want, you could watch the English version. But I just wanted to watch it in the original version, so that's why I watched it like that. But man, I really loved this movie just because it did such a great job of portraying the horrors of war. I like when as good as the action is, as good as the war sequences are, when you actually go into the other stuff, like the stuff in the trenches, how people used to live when they weren't actually fighting, it's just horrible. And you really feel for these characters just because the movie and the director just did such a great job of showing how horrible the conditions are. The movie also just does an incredible job of putting you in the shoes of the main characters. So when you're watching the movie, you just like, you feel for them. When something bad happens to them, you feel that. And when something good happens to them, you celebrate with them. And I think that's what the movie did a perfect job of. And that's why the movie worked as well as it did. And my favorite thing about this movie, I'd say, is that it did not glorify war. A lot of movies these days just show war as kind of a good thing. And with all the stuff going on in the world right now, I just think this is the kind of movie that you need to watch and just understand that war is not a good thing at all. Like, there's nothing good about war. Everything that comes out of it is just horrible. And I think this movie did a perfect job of showing that. And when you watch it, you see all like how many soldiers died. And I think at the end of the movie, they do give you some statistics about World War One. And I think that's something that I want more from movies, war movies, at least, because like war movies, a lot of war movies kind of glorify war. They show it as a good thing. They show it as like soldiers that are heroes. Sure, they are heroes for the country, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of soldiers that die and don't get recognized. And I think that's something that this movie did a perfect job of showing. And when it ended, the movie just gave me a really fulfilling experience. And when it's a pretty long movie, I'd say. Like the first hour of it is a little bit slow, but once it gets going, it is, like I said, I think it's one of the best movies I've seen all year, and one of the best war movies I've ever seen in general. And I think by the time it ended, it just gave me a really great experience. We also don't know much about these characters at the beginning of the movie, but by the time you get to the end of it, you really care about them just because when they're talking to other people, when they're having meaningful conversation with other soldiers and stuff like that, it is really deep and it gets really emotional at times. And I just think it did a great job of doing that and putting you in their shoes and kind of explaining that these soldiers have lives outside of battle, and a lot of them didn't make it. And I just think this did a great job showing that. And out of any war movie I've seen in a very long time, this is one of the best ones, and I just absolutely loved this movie. It's not perfect. I do think it has a few flaws. I think the first hour of it is quite slow, and I find myself a little bit bored throughout some of it. And I do think there's a point in the movie where it kind of felt like it should have ended there, but it kept going. It made sense why it kept going after it happened, but at the middle of the movie, when I was watching it, I was kind of confused about why the movie hasn't ended yet. But it kept going, and I think by the time it ended, I understood what happened, so it made sense to me. But in the middle, I was just kind of confused because it felt like the movie should have ended about like 2 hours into it, but it just kept going because something else happened after that. But still, overall, I really love this movie. All Quiet on the Western Front is one of the best movies I've seen this year and one of the best experiences I've had watching a movie this year. If you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend it because it is an absolutely amazing film that really shows how horrific war actually is. I'm going to give this movie an A. On an entertainment scale, it's an 8.5 out of 10. It is a hard movie to watch just because of how brutal and violent some of the stuff is, but I still think it just did a great job of providing me with an amazing experience. So I really love this movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend it. If you enjoyed this video, guys, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more movie content like this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.